You are watching Business Heroine TV for the entrepreneur who says she will and does. Join the Business Heroine community today at businessheroinemagazine.com. And now, tune into the show.
Hi, I'm Ann Perry, founder of Business Heroine, and today we are speaking with Martha Hartney. Now, Martha went to law school as a single mom of two sons and graduated from the University of Denver in 2009, and she immediately entered solo practice. So Martha's law firm, Hartney Law, LLC, is built on the vision of empowering parents and entrepreneurs to master their legal lives, supporting them to rise to their full stature as leaders of their community. So Martha's really committed to changing the way that law is practiced so that parents and entrepreneurs have access to tools that can make their families more prosperous and fulfilled, tools that were only previously available to the very wealthy. And Hartney Law has become the boutique firm of choice in Boulder, Colorado for parents and entrepreneurs. The firm has been named Best of the West twice in 2012 and 2013 by the Yellow Scene magazine. And Martha also teaches estate planning and coaches law firms in the early years to help them become trusted and valued advisors in their communities. So this is going to be a really enlightening conversation. Thank you so much for joining us, Martha.
Thanks for having me, Ann.
Yeah. So I love your perspective on law, just really coming from this empowering perspective. Why did you decide to become a lawyer?
Actually, it was because I was a mother first. My experience as a mom led me to realize that women and mothers and fathers together don't really have enough access to the understanding of how our culture impacts them with the law. And I was a La Leche League leader for a bunch of years. And while I was doing that work, I got a lot of legal questions from moms and dads that I simply was not qualified nor licensed to assist with. And feeling all that trouble around that arena in their legal lives, a friend of mine said, why don't you just go to law school? And that's actually a friend of yours too. That's Alexis Neely.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. She and I have been friends for a lot of years. And she said, go to law school. And eventually I just did. I just decided that that's what I needed to do, to serve the way I wanted to serve more deeply. Parents who were struggling with legal issues or not even struggling, just wanting to know what the law says about them. Mm-hmm. And I loved the whole experience of going to law school. And found out I'm quite the geek.
Quite the geek. That's awesome. Yeah. I love geeks because I think that geeks means excellence when we just totally geek out about the things. So what were some of those struggles that you were encountering as a parent or that the parents you were speaking with were encountering or where they just felt like there were blind spots around legal issues?
Well, I think a lot of parents feel a little disempowered around their own parenting choices because when you have that baby, suddenly people are telling you what you should do, what you should and should not do, and everybody's got an opinion. Mm-hmm. And it's a little mind-boggling, mm-hmm. And I really wanted to help tease out what's real and what's not, what legal components, what cultural components, what commercial components of your decisions are impacting the way you make those decisions. And trying to dig into the law really flushed out a lot of that for me, particularly the cultural and the commercial components of our parenting choices. So I would have people say, they would call me up and say, I work full time and I really want to breastfeed my baby, but my employer won't let me have any time to pump.
Oh, yeah.
Very common problem. Another one is where parents are actually getting ready to dissolve a marriage when they have an infant or a young child that's nursing, or the custody issues are really unclear because of the mother-child bond, mm-hmm. And that was really heart-wrenching. But then there's all sorts of things like, do you co-sleep with your baby? What does the Consumer Product Safety Division have to say about that, and why are they involved in our lives at all? About cribs and co-sleepers and don't sleep with your baby. Consumer advocacy groups, why are they involved in our decisions as parents? And I really wanted to understand all of that.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I'm not a parent yet, and so I'm just like, there's so many things I don't even know that I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and you don't know until you have that baby in your arms.
Yeah.
And that really inspired me to dig in to particularly the impact of commerce on parenting. And I started to do some work on formula feeding of babies and why that's so prevalent and what the history is of that and how we can make a shift in that without shaming moms for bottle feeding. And that work led me right into the law.
Wow.
Yeah.
So fascinating. So I love hearing stories of how a passion or just an extreme interest leads into a career that otherwise may not have emerged. And so you work with parents and you work with entrepreneurs. You're an estate and a business planner.
Right.
Why are you an estate and business planner? Why was that choice?
Well, I started with estate planning, and my focus was parents with kids at home and trying to teach the legal landscape that all parents live in, but don't know they're living in it. And then I realized very quickly that in my area, a very large percentage of my clients had businesses. This is, Startup Central. I don't know if you know that, but Boulder County is just burgeoning with startups, which is a wonderful opportunity to work with people who have a certain mindset and an openness and willingness to take risks. And I was just enamored with that. So, of course, my work had to include their businesses. A lot of business owners don't think about their businesses in terms of their estate planning. I actually, one of my first clients said to me, well, what does my business have to do with my estate? And I almost fell over because, of course, you own your business is part of your estate, and we need to make sure that your family gets the benefit of everything that you do, including your business.
Yeah, and it is a tricky area because especially when you're starting out and it's a startup business, it's like you're focused on just generating income and making this thing go. And so thinking estate planning is really big picture and strategic. What are some of the things that startup business owners should be thinking about? Actually,
it's laying down the foundation properly. In order to make sure your family gets the benefit of what you work, you've got to get the most out of it. And what I found in a lot of my colleagues who practice the way I do, and in particular, there's a particular flavor of the law that I practice with a group of lawyers. The belief is that if you lay the foundation, the legal, insurance, finance, and tax foundations of your business properly, you will set it up to grow and to generate cash flow, which is really the critical component of any business, is making sure that cash flow is there so that anybody wants to buy it later. Right? So if you lay down those framework, those cornerstones, legal, insurance, tax, and finance, that gives the entrepreneur a greater ability to leap from that foundation.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really building the business so it can, building the foundation, like you said, you can't build a skyscraper just on a marsh. You have to build it on a really strong foundation.
Yeah.
For it to grow.
Fortunately, I have a lot of experience in marketing as well, so I can bring that on top of the legal aspects and the finance aspects.
Yeah.
If you had told me 10 years ago that I would be doing this, I would have just laughed.
Amazing.
There's no way. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I love being a stay-at-home mom. But it's so beautiful to see families really rise to the level of their greatness, both in their family lives, but in their business lives. It's really a blessing.
That's awesome. And so you mentioned a unique flavor of you and some lawyers. So what is unique about your perspective as a lawyer and business owner?
The way I practice law, I practice it from my heart. I practice it as a mom first and as a lawyer second. Yes, I'm a lawyer. Yes, I'm licensed to practice law. But I'm a person who wants to support and further other people's aims. One of the ways that I do that in my group of lawyers, and you can look it up, it's personalfamilylawyer.com. And there's about 100 of us across the country. We build our business base, our business model to be easy to interact with, not an hourly billing model. The hourly billing model is really broken, and it doesn't encourage communication between client and lawyer. And we need to be in communication. My clients need to talk to me and be incented to talk to me.
Right.
They won't do that if they're afraid that they're going to get a bill for $176 every time they pick up the phone.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I don't even wear a watch. I'm not an hourly biller. And that's one way. And the other is to maintain a really open line of communication, that our job is to empower and to inform and to educate, not to hold back, which is a traditional lawyer mindset. Like, a traditional lawyer will say, oh, well, you can't do that. You're going to get in trouble for that, or you're going to get sued for that.
Uh-huh.
But a personal family lawyer, also known as a family business lawyer, our goal is to kind of clear that clutter away and find the way through, not the why nots.
Oh, that's so refreshing. It's like being able to have a heart-to-heart with your lawyer. That feels like kind of a oxymoron or something in the way that traditionally we think or hear about lawyers. So I love that you say you're a mom first, you're a lawyer second, and it's about bridging that communication, being accessible, available, because definitely it's like I can see how it's like, oh gosh, I'm going to pick up the phone, I'm going to get this huge bill because I asked my lawyer a question and took half an hour of their time, or that's really refreshing.
I have a colleague who once said to me, he said, don't you feel like you have to keep your clients at arm's length? And I'm like, no, why would I? Do you? And he's like, well, yeah. And he does some pretty intense transactional work, litigation, where your clients really don't like you.
Uh-huh.
And you don't really like your clients. But in the business model, the way I practice it, I like my clients and they like me. And you become what was used to be more common and normal, where your lawyer was part of your family. Mm-hmm. That was your trusted advisor. When you needed to buy a house, when you needed some legal advice, you just picked up the phone and you knew they were there for you. Mm. The law changed, and we want to change it back to that sort of neighborhood family lawyer.
Yeah, that's so great. And so you talked about you were a stay-at-home mom for many years. What advice do you have for other stay-at-home moms who want to get out into the world?
Ooh, actually, I would say do it. Do it. I have a lot of emotional stuff that comes up around moms who are stay-at-home because I loved being a stay-at-home mom, and I also have seen some of the ramifications of that come around that aren't positive. That being not out in the world, being closed in and cloistered in our family lives can be dangerous financially and emotionally. So my advice is to keep in mind that all marriages end. And this isn't just all stay-at-home moms, it's stay-at-home parents. That all marriages end, either by death or divorce. And there is a moment where we may be flying on our own. And if we are, do we have what we need to keep going? I've seen many women, older women and younger women, who have kind of taken their hands out of the working world entirely, and then are immediately forced back into trying to make a living. And once you've been out of the workforce I was out of the workforce for 10 years before I went back into it. It's hard. It is very difficult for someone to get back into it. So, I would just suggest and encourage stay-at-home parents of any kind to stay limber and stay ready to jump back in. Somehow.
Yeah, a lot changes in 10 years, especially nowadays things just go so fast. Even if you're in it, it's like, what? All of a sudden, this new technology. And so what about, how would you suggest doing that if there's a stay-at-home mom, or she wants to be a full-time mom, or maybe there's a stay-at-home dad? How do you do that in a way where you're keeping limber, like you said, keeping flexible, ready to jump back in if you need to, but at the same time fulfilling your dream of being with your children close to full-time?
Yeah. My suggestion is to always be learning and to make that a priority in the family unit. Bring in your spouse, your partner, and have the dialogue about how are we going to keep the person who's doing the primary parenting, how are we going to keep their skills up or their interests up? So taking a class once a year at a local community college that interests you. If you've always wanted to take an economics class, take that economics class. If you haven't finished your degree, just chip away at it. Take one class at a time. Of course, in the early years when you have little babies, it's not quite as doable. But once they start to kind of go out into the world, do that. One of my clients actually became my client services director part-time. That's how she's doing it. She went out and picked a business that she wanted to work in, and she approached the owner and said, I want to work for you. And she made it work. So, and it works around her calendar and her kids' schedule and her life. And yet she is staying so up to speed with new technology that if something were to happen, she would be able to just jump right back in.
Yeah, that's that's good insights, wise. It's something that maybe we don't think about at the time until it's too late, until we're in a really tough situation. Yeah. So tell me, for yourself, what did it really take for you to become a business owner on a personal level?
Actually, it's because I consider myself unemployable. I was 40 years old when I got out of law school, and the law firm business is actually crumbling. The people who were at the top of our class actually didn't have work when they left law school. I had never planned to work for somebody else because I know nobody wants a 40-year-old new associate. They couldn't pay me enough. There's no way I would work the hours that they wanted me to work. And I'm too opinionated. I'm just flat out like, I want to do things my way, and that wouldn't go in a law firm. So I had no choice. So I just jumped into solo practice right away and got as much coaching as I could. I had my girlfriend, one of my dearest friends in the world, coaching me. I found mentors. And this wasn't my first rodeo. I've run businesses before, not my own business, other people's businesses. So I knew about budgeting and forecasting and finances before, which is good.
Yeah.
But it just took the realization that I wanted to live in a particular way, which was that I wanted to be able to be at home as much as I could. Yeah. I didn't want to work 60, 70 hours a week.
Yeah.
And I don't. I work probably 40 to 50, which is a nice full-time job. But it's my 40 to 50.
Right.
Not someone else's.
Right.
Yeah.
And you were talking, when we were talking offline before this interview, you were talking a little bit about letting go. Can you say more about letting go in your business journey?
Yeah, actually, part of my story is the fact that I got divorced very shortly after being accepted into law school. I got my law school acceptance letter. I read it, and I realized my marriage was over. And my husband at the time and I separated. And it was the process of learning that I couldn't escape letting go of what I've had before for something new. There had to be a breakdown of something for something better to come through. And letting go of what was a financially secure family situation in order to go into something completely financially insecure but much more fulfilling. It felt like a sacrifice at the time, but at the same time, I understood underneath that was a breakthrough. And I would never have pictured that for myself. I really, truly, truly thought I was going to be a stay-at-home mom forever. And that's kind of how I had built my life. That's not what happened. And I just had to let go of what I thought it was going to be to find something totally different and amazing.
Yeah. It takes courage, and those are sometimes where the best things come. Just when I look at my own life, it's like those really, really scary times, and it feels like there's no safety net, and it's like, this isn't how I wanted it to go. And then on the other side of that, like you said, a breakthrough. There's something more amazing waiting for us, and the impact that you're making now for other moms and parents and entrepreneurs. Yeah, it's very moving. So how can we get more of you? How can our listeners learn more from you? I think you have a report on legal mistakes entrepreneurs make, and something for parents as well about naming guardians.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Actually, this is the primary question that parents pose to me is like, how do I name guardians? I can either send you a link to this article or people could find it on my website blog.
Sure. We'll
Either
include the
way,
link for sure in your interview. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I'll send you. It would be www.hartneylaw.com.
Okay.
And that's spelled HARTNEY, law.com. And there's a blog icon. You just click on the blog and you go down into the second page of blog articles. And there's an article on how to pick a guardian. That's actually the hardest decision families generally have to make when they're making their very first legal decision. That's the first and that's the hardest. Once you get through that part, the rest can kind of comes easily. So on that website, on the landing page, there is an opt-in box if you want to receive my report, the 7 must-dos parents, the 7 things that parents must do before naming a guardian. Will help them figure out if they've done it right, and if they haven't done it, what they should take into consideration. So that report's for free. So I just asked for your email.
Great.
And I did say that anybody who requested from you, my landing page for this is not yet up. It's under construction. The 11 most expensive mistakes that entrepreneurs make and how to not make them and save a bunch of money by not making them. So I'll send you that report, or anybody who wishes to receive it, they can email me. And my email is martha@hartneylaw.com.
Okay, great.
Right, if they email me and just say 11 mistakes report, I'll email that to them right away in PDF.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, that sounds great. So what last words of advice do you have for our business heroines out there who are starting their business or they're in business and in that growth stage and ready to make their impact on the world? What advice do you have for them from your perspective as your own personal growth early. Or a lawyer? What's that?
Yeah, I would say start early to assemble your team of advisors. Don't hesitate to get a lawyer. And I would find what's called a family business lawyer, FBL. A family business lawyer is somebody who can help you get your foundation set up in a way where you can predict those costs early on, and they can grow with you. So find a family business lawyer. Make sure that you invest in yourself, that you spend, for me, my budget on spending on development, on self-development is 10% of revenue. So every dollar I receive, I spend 10% on self-improvement, growth, skills training, and happiness. What will make me bigger and better and happier? So spend the money.
That's brilliant. I love how you have that in your budget. That's a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. So, and I would say if you can envision it, it can happen. So if you're just starting out, lay down a good foundation and start dreaming because it can unfold. It really can.
Yeah. Agreed. Awesome. Well, Martha, thank you so much for joining us and enlightening us. It's so great to get this perspective of law and parenting and business and how all of that intersects. So it was a real pleasure connecting with you and learning from you. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah. And thanks, everyone, for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
You have been watching Business Heroine TV for the entrepreneur who says she will and does. We hope you enjoyed the show. Be sure to check out what's new at businessheroinemagazine.com today.